are now tuned in to Hustle Her Way, the podcast, a weekly podcast that celebrates and empowers the ambitious women who are rewriting the rules, breaking barriers, and making their mark in the world. I'm your host, KT, and I'm thrilled to have you guys along on this exciting journey. In a world where opportunities for women are expanding every day, Hustle Her Way, the podcast, is now your go-to destination to find inspiration, motivation, and great advice from extraordinary women as myself and other guests that we will have on this podcast who have paved their own paths to success. I believe that every woman has a unique story to tell, and here we're going to uncover the triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned for some of the most remarkable female entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators across various industries. Every week we will have either a solo episode or an interview that encaps what a hustle her way mindset looks like and what you can do to find your own hustle. Thanks for staying tuned, and let's get right on into the show. Alright y'all, welcome back to Hustle Her Way, the podcast. So, we got a lot to talk about today. And we're going to talk about kind of the reason why I've been missing. I know specifically, I told you guys, I dropped a big bomb on you guys the last time I came on this podcast to tell you that I was quitting my business. And, I was saying, hey, we're still going to have all this great content come out, this, that, and the other. And I have not uploaded anything outside a few things on my Instagram. But other than that, I have not uploaded. And that's definitely a concern, and I'm sorry for being gone for so long, but I didn't realize the turmoil that I was going to have within myself right after making that announcement. That kind of had me turn for the worse, and opposed to that, I felt myself going through an identity crisis. So we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about some of the other things that I got going on and how I've been trying to combat the identity crisis things and trying to figure myself out again. So first, official podcast and YouTube sound in business. Thank you guys for staying tuned. Always, if you're listening to this on wherever you listen to your podcast, please do not forget to go rate, like, and share this with your other working business besties so they won't miss Hustle Her Way, the podcast, when we release something every Tuesday. So, nevertheless, here we go. So, I told you guys the last episode was that I told you guys I quit my business. And I had all intentions on coming on here to give you guys kind of the documentary of my life, because a lot of us, and I feel this way, and it's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of people come and talk to us, especially YouTubers, motivational speakers. Most of the time they talk about things from a place where they've already been. So, for example, if we're going to use my business, people would announce it, but they won't talk about how they felt from 2 years from now. And I felt like that was going to do myself a disservice, and it was going to do you guys a disservice, because I wanted to show you guys what that looks like. What does closing your business look like, especially when you've been in business for so long? What does that do to your mental? What does that do for your motivation and drive going forward and trying to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life? So, had all great intentions on doing that, but I found myself questioning myself. So, especially on YouTube, I made content geared towards entrepreneurs, especially within the PR marketing space. So, I had all the content planned, scripted, everything. Just had to come on here and turn on the camera. But I felt like I was a fraud to talk about how you guys can implement something into your business when I don't have that business anymore. And I'm sorry, y'all. For some odd strange reason, I just have the sniffles all of a sudden, but we're gonna keep it moving. So I couldn't find the will to actually create. I have not created anything on TikTok, anything on Instagram. Everything you guys have been seeing on those channels are already pre-recorded, and I want to buy my life. So I couldn't find out what was going to be my new identity. I've been saying I've been an entrepreneur for over 5 years now. I cater my content towards entrepreneurs. I talked about business owners. I talked about this. I talked about being a publicist. But what does that look like when I don't have my business? And I could not answer that for the life of me. I sat in my bed plenty of nights trying to figure out, well, who am I? And I know that's a dangerous thing to associate yourself with just a title. And it wasn't just a title, but that was literally my life. My business has been growing over 5 years. And my branding on social media was about being a publicist, having my own public relations firm. So what does that look like now? Do I talk about corporate? Do I talk about lifestyle? I just felt like I was lost. And hence why I said I was going through an identity crisis, because I didn't know who I was anymore. If that makes any sense. Like, I know who I am, but outside of just being this person, who am I showing up to on social media? Who am I catering towards? Who am I talking to? What's going to be next? Because that was the very first question a lot of people asked. And I know they had all good intentions, but that really put a lot of pressure on me to figure out, okay, well, let me figure out what's going to be next, and not even have a real grieving process about what was happening in real life, because I was over in the future trying to make plans. So many days I just could not turn on the camera. I could not turn on the TikTok. I could not turn on my phone. And I sat within those feelings because I felt lost. I felt like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to create. I didn't know how to show up authentically, because now I'm questioning who I am. Because I felt like the business was the end all be all of the reason why I was going to be on TikTok. That was the reason why I created my brand. You can't have a business and not people know you behind the scenes, because as we know, you cannot separate your business from yourself anymore. Those days are gone. People want to know the CEO. People want to know who's behind the scenes of everything. People find the information out. And sometimes that, depending on how you live your lifestyle, that can get you canceled quickly as opposed to anything else. So I created this KT the Publicist persona because it was my business. It was my brand, to get people to understand who I was as a business owner, understand why PR is needed. And so I went through all the things. I went through, do I want to change my name on social media? Do I even want to actually still create content, even though I love creating content? I love coming to talk to you guys. I love editing. I love filming. Well, not editing so much sometimes, but you get the gist. Then, you know, I had photography on the side. Then people was pushing me, hey, you need to go ahead and start doing photography for real now, because now people are asking you to do photography services. And I'm just like, but do I actually want to start an actual business when I just quit my business? So there are so many things that was going through my head, and I just felt stuck. I felt like I couldn't do anything, and I was literally going through the motions of understanding who I was. And on top of that, the fact that I was turning 30, well, that I turned 30, and now it's this whole actually grown thing that was coming about, and other things that in my life that I was just like, well, what if I don't want to do this anymore? What if this is not me? What if this has been literally me personifying something that I'm not anymore? So I said all that to say it's okay to feel that way. I had to realize that although a chapter of my life was closing, that was just a chapter. That wasn't the whole book. That wasn't the whole story. That's not the end all and all be for me in my life. And then I had to, I had to talk to God. You have to sit and be available during this whole process. After, I closed my business, I felt like I couldn't hear him at all. I could not hear his voice. I didn't know what was going to be next. I didn't know what was going on. So I had to sit in that silence for a minute to really be in the know of letting go and letting him be able to coast my steps of what's going to be next for me in my life. And I would say, because I'm so much of a planner, that left me feeling so exposed. Because although I love God, although I know his plans might be my plans, the fact of the matter was I had no real idea and real notion of what was going to be next. And we have to realize, as humans, we don't have it all figured out. Dang, that's a word for somebody. I felt like that. I felt like somebody needed it. But I am saying that sometimes you have to sit in those feelings and figure it out. And to this very day, I'm still trying to figure out the content creation thing. I am somebody who definitely pre-plans everything, script everything out. And right now, especially at this moment, I'm just coming on and turning on a camera and my podcasting mic and talking, because I have no real idea about what I want to talk about. So this is literally me using myself as a vessel to speak to you guys about some of the things that's going on in my life. And hopefully this helps you out with your identity if you're going through this, because there are so many people who don't talk about the identity crisis. Or we talk about when people turn 50, they have this mid-year crisis. And to be honest, I felt like I've been going through this since I was 25, literally. And I think that was when I started my business. At 25, I felt like I went through an identity crisis every year, because I didn't know what I was going to be doing, or I didn't know who I was going to show up as. And I realized that's okay. And in this season of silence and in this season of sitting still, there has been so many opportunities have came about because of it. I'm actually going to start teaching part-time at the university that I graduated from 7 years ago. Never in a million years would I ever thought that I was straying away from teaching. So to be able to do that, like I can't, that's not even my credit. That's credit to God, because that's me following his plans, because I had no intentions on teaching. Like, I was literally getting my PhD to make myself more attractive in a job industry and maybe write books, and that was my overall goal. But the fact that I met one of my old teachers, and the fact of the matter of how well and how orchestrated it was, when it was literally just a thought, I can't credit anybody that but God, because he knows what he wants me to do. And the fact that I am one, because I can tell y'all, when I went there was no women of color teaching specifically in the PR program. Nobody. So the fact that 7 years later, I'm now positioned to be a certified instructor to start teaching, and I'm only 30, that's kind of unheard of, especially at my university. Most of our teachers are well into their 40s, and there's nothing wrong with that. They earn it. But the fact that I'm only 30 and now I'm starting to be a certified instructor at a major university in a predominantly great PR program, that's unheard of in my book, to be completely honest. So now I you know, you guys know I journal, so the fact that that's been most of what I've been journaling, like who am I? Who do I want to show up as? What are some principles and what are some values and what are some things that I feel like make me up as a person, and figuring out, is this who I want, and also God wants to portray to the world. And I've been really on my prayer work of trying to figure out, hey God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this supposed to be the person I'm supposed to show up as? And although, you know, sometimes I get answers, sometimes I don't, I feel that I'm going to figure it out one day, sooner or later. And it's okay to be in this in-between stage of finding out who I am and going through this identity crisis, because there has been a major shift in my life. When you have major shifts anywhere, there are so many things that go unnoticed and go unchecked, and when you go through that shift in your life, you figured out you can't operate in those ways anymore. You can't operate the way you've been operating. And I can say sometimes it was unhealthy, because I was literally trying to do all the things. I was trying to be an entrepreneur. I was trying to be someone very committed to community work. I was trying to be someone who worked in corporate. It was a lot. And the fact that I haven't rested for 5 years, that's a lot. I've been on just pilot mode of trying to figure out what life is, and now I get to sit in it. Now I get to enjoy life. Now I get to enjoy family time. I told my sister, because literally I talked about this on the live with one of my publicist friends. It was getting to me, the fact that she would say, and I know she didn't do it out of a place of, you know, me and my sister crack jokes, so I know it wasn't a place that she was trying to be funny or, you know, make me feel this certain way. But she would say, I had to make an appointment to see you. And I felt so bad, because it's literally just me and my sisters. We all lost our parents, and it's just me and them in this city together, because most of our other family are in Georgia. So the fact that she said that kind of made an alarm go off. And now I'm spending more time with her. Now I'm seeking community, really much so. I've let go of a lot of things, and now I'm trying to figure out what's best for me and what's best for my life. So yeah, hopefully these tips are beneficial to you guys. Hopefully you can take some of those nuggets of what I'm going through and apply it to your life. And hopefully that you guys, if you're going through the same thing, know you're not alone. There's a community, and we have a community here at KT the Publicist and Hustle Her Way podcast listeners. There is a community. Just let me know, and we can get through this thing together. So this is the end of my time for this podcast. Thank you guys for staying tuned. As always, I love to hear from you guys. So if you have a question, if you have something you want to ask, you want to hear be read live on the podcast, email us at ktthepublicist@gmail.com, or you can DM me at Hustle Her Way the Pod on Instagram. And thank you guys, and I will see you in the next podcast episode. Bye y'all.